Good morning, Sasha, Braden, anyone else who happens to be watching. Today, I'm just going to share with you a little bit about sort of what I took away from Pastor Ryan's sermon this last weekend. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend you go back and watch it. He sort of gives a little bit of a background as to why, um, how the teaching is laid out throughout the year, why the parables of Jesus was chosen, and then leads into the first and what he kind of called one of the most important parables that Jesus told, which is the parable of the sower. So if you remember, the seed is being sown and it falls on different soils, right? So the first soil is the path. The second soil is like rocky ground. The third soil is the one that has lots of weeds in it. And then the fourth one is the good soil. So, and part of the challenge was, which one are you? And so in the first one, it was the parable of the path. And so if you remember paths, by the time that they were kind of beaten down and horses and carriages and everything else went across them, I've even heard it described as they can be as hard as concrete. And so it doesn't penetrate. And so that's the type of seed that um, he talked about. It's just kind of an intellectual thing. Jesus is sort of a concept or maybe a worldview, but not anything that really penetrates into your soul. And the second one is the rocky ground. And the point behind that is there's not a lot of soil. So it sprouts up initially, but there's no place for the roots to really grab into. And so then it dies off quickly. And so the idea there is that those are people that have an emotional response. So they get fired up, they go to a retreat or they go to a revival or something like that. And they're really excited and on fire for God. But it doesn't last. It just can't, it doesn't sustain. The emotions fade away and it doesn't last. The third soil is the one that's choked out by weeds, where it takes root, the word of God takes root in their heart, it grows, but then the weeds come and choke it out. And so it's really this divided heart. It's a heart of one that has lots of different cares. And then the fourth is the good soil, and that's the one that we all want to be. And so part of the challenge was, which soil are you? And so as we talked about this at dinner the other night, I kind of said, I think I have been all of the soils at different times. I believe growing up, I was really the first, where Jesus and God and salvation was kind of an intellectual concept. Um, I grew up in the Bible Belt, the South, and so good Baptists, fire and brimstone, fire insurance. You need to be saved, and so I think just in terms of an intellectual concept, I accepted Jesus, but it didn't really change much. And then I think in college, I did have a very emotional experience, kind of a breaking from of and really dealing with lordship and really just it really penetrated into my heart. I really saw a big change in my life, but it didn't last. I started to kind of struggle, and as I graduated West Point, etc. And it was really just when I got discipled at Fort Hood that really, I think, I really got into being that fourth soil. But I was singularly focused on God and about Bible study and learning and growing and helping others. And I would say that I've been the third soil off and on between. I kind of vacillate between the third and the fourth soil, right? That I think anyone, no matter how focused or concentrated you are, at some point, the cares of the world do get in there, and then you have to do some gardening. You got to weed those things out. Um, so just want to challenge you both to think about what kind of soil are you, and are you sort of the type of soil that you want to be, or are there things that maybe need to change, or that I mean that you need God to come in and change your life, because that is one of the points, was that there's not a bunch of to-dos. The soil can't make itself better. The soil is the soil, and it's really up to a gardener to come in and plow it up. And so relying on God to do that heavy heart work of really plowing you up and making you that better soil. Just challenge you to think about, well, what is it that God's doing right now to make me that better soil? Are there roots that need to be pulled up, or is it just God just needs to I just need to really focus on Him, and maybe there are a couple of weeds that need to be pulled. So anyway, hope this helps, and love to talk to you more about it if you ever want to talk about it. Anyway, talk to you later. Love you. Bye bye.